Hi, this is Jean McIlvaine, Associate Curator at the Goldstein Museum of Design, and I'm here today with Colleen, Graduate Assistant at the Goldstein, to discuss this great 19th century dress. The dress was likely worn by a young woman in her late teens, and while dating objects is kind of what we do in fashion history, this is a good example of a difficult dress to date. Its provenance ranges everywhere from 1835 to 65, according to documentation, but we'd like to get a little more specific. Details such as the slightly raised waistline and full sleeves might indicate something closer to the 1860s. Cotton fabric like this was likely created with a roller print, and roller prints were somewhat expensive. It required that the pattern be transferred to a steel drum. And although imports were still common in the U.S., at this time fabric mills in the U.S. were also producing their goods. And this dress certainly would have dated prior to any significant commercialization of screen printing in Western fabrics.
So now we're going to talk about the styling and construction of this dress. So everything on this dress is hand sewn. The sewing machine would not be invented until about the mid-1800s and really wouldn't be in wide use for a couple decades or so. It's a very modest silhouette overall. We have a high neckline here, which is common for a day dress or called a morning dress, unlike an evening gown, which would have a neckline cut more off the shoulder. We have some really interesting sleeves. This is a sloped sleeve silhouette. Unlike a garment of today where we would see the armhole seam here at the end of the shoulder, this armhole seam is set really low to create sort of this nice rounded shoulder silhouette. You can see it's very heavily gathered sleeve, so it'd be very full. And then it goes down into a cuff that's inspired by a menswear jacket, which would be popular at the time period, and with some velvet trim and a little bit of plaid lining here. Another interesting detail on this dress is the yoke sort of paneling that we see here. This is to mimic a Bertha collar, and a Bertha collar is typically made of lace or another thin fabric that would cover the low neckline of a dress and also kind of accentuate a woman's shoulders. Here it's been put into more of a day dress just to kind of create the illusion of a Bertha collar. It would also sort of work to de-emphasize the bust of the wearer, as this would have been a younger woman wearing this. The bodice does have some seaming and princess lines here and is boned on the inside to provide some structure for the wearer. Moving on to the skirt, we have a little bit of a higher than natural waistline, and it's very full gathered skirt here. The skirt would then flare out into a full bell shape. Depending on the time period in which this is worn, it would either be worn with petticoats if it was from the 1830s and 1840s, or if it's later from the 1860s, it might have been worn with a modest cage crinoline. The skirt also features a really fun hidden detail. There is a little hidden pocket set into one of the seams, so it's a little place where the wearer could keep something during the day while she's wearing this dress. And then the hem of the skirt would go all the way to the floor. You can see that the hem has been reinforced with some woven fabric, some muslin, in order to protect it and just provide a little bit of extra stability. We're going to take a quick look at the inside of this garment. We now have it on the back and we have it open. So you can see that the closure for this, we have a hook and eye closure, so you have hooks down here and eyes here. The bodice is just lined with a simple cotton fabric. You can see all of the hand stitching details in here. These are the darts that were created to support the boning, so there's boning inside of each of these darts to give some shape to the bodice. And then this lining in the bodice would have just protected the dress from the natural body oils and sweat that would have been on the wearer when she wore this throughout the day. So this would have just sort of helped to protect the exterior garment.